So what does a good career portfolio look like? Obviously, over the last decade or so, more and more executives have embraced the concept of a board portfolio, a career portfolio, diversifying their interests from the traditional kind of days of, joining one company, staying in that one business for a long period of time, and maybe, all the way through to retirement. I mean, those days are almost over. It's quite rare for me these days to meet an executive who has worked in one business for 20 plus years. The reality is that the employment markets, the economy, our lives, lifestyles have changed considerably. And people are wanting flexibility, people are wanting greater income, they're wanting to de-risk from having all the eggs in the one basket. And so an ideal portfolio takes all of those things into account. And as you're going through different life changes, you might be, considering starting a family, for example, priority number one might be workplace flexibility. And a lot of employers will provide that to you, but some won't. And, so hence you've got to start to think about, well, what does that entail? We see executives as they get towards the later end of their careers, they want a lot more variety, and they want to have more interest and be choosing projects that suit them and their lifestyle and their requirements. Obviously, during the COVID pandemic, we had this whole shift towards work from home. And now increasingly, we find that executives would still like to have a part of that as part of their remit. So a good career portfolio is where you have planned for success. You haven't just, hoped for the best. You have, in fact, put in place some solid plans. And the first priority is always to diversify your income streams. The days of having just one income stream are over, in my opinion. The cost of living might be one primary reason for that. But I think just regardless of economic sort of circumstances, having multiple sources of income gives you a lot more options later in life, and it enables you to maximize what goes into your superannuation or into your investments, and it will give you a lot more choices later in life. And if we're going to be living longer, we're going to need those additional funds to be able to have quality life in later years. So diversifying income streams is a priority, and I think no longer can you just rely on one extra income stream. You've got to have at least two. So I'm working with a lot of clients these days to make that a huge priority. How do we diversify the income? The ideal scenario for a lot of executives is if they were sick, they could still maintain a level of income, or if they wanted to take a sabbatical, that they could still live, very comfortably, and would have the various sort of sources of income set up. So income, savings, investments, it's all tied together. Obviously, you've got to also look at how you can diversify your skills into different business environments. So the common things that we see in board portfolios, career portfolios are things like board seats, advisory board seats, committee roles, facilitation, education, consultancy, advisory work. We have people in our client base who have side business hustles. They might have a side e-commerce business, for example. A lot of my clients are tinkering away in the background with AI tools or apps and developing these in their own time to give them the freedom that they want later in life. And so what we're seeing now is people really starting to commercialize their skills and experiences across a range of different domains. And there is an increasing demand for interim executives, fractional executives. So it's not uncommon to see someone leave the traditional workforce, working 9 to 5 days a week, moving to a structure of, say, 3 days a week fractional, and then having some board seats and some additional activity, advisory work, complementing and still maintaining very similar, if not better, income sources and income coming from those different areas. So I think there's a lot to be said for doing this. It doesn't happen by accident. It certainly does happen through good planning. And if you are interested in developing either a board portfolio or just in general diversifying your income streams, would love to have a chat with you. I think it's going to be really crucial in the years ahead to get this right. And of course, investing in yourself, investing in your own development so that you can offer your services to the market and constantly be employed, never out of a job, never downtime, always in demand, lots of different sources, people asking you, come and work with us. That's the ideal scenario for an executive to be a busy executive in demand and having great skills and experience that can be leveraged into multiple streams.